But if you want to start something new, interesting, connected to the bigger world, and repatriates.
I feel like my work is not done.
Proud to see that this project, which is not that old yet,
and also head of the
I
research.
met my wife kind of serendipitously. I was a Marine.
Hello, welcome to gagrulenet. We're pleased you join us. And today we're going to work on this episode 2. We showed you the episode 1, which was we went to Armenia. I spent 18 days there, and there was 25th anniversary of Armenian independence. And I wanted to look at 25 years from now what they're doing, which I find out incredible work's been done within Armenia, from outside Armenia, from Thailand to Australia, US, Canada, France, you name it. So we met people, we interview people. We're gonna bring it all to you one after another. We already showed you this Adapt a Village. It's a brainchild of this good man named Elan Wicks and his wife Armenia. They started with Adapt a Village. So we went there and we inaugurated this, as you could see, this garage, which is they went roaming village by village, finding this garage, which 6,000 years ago Armenians were making wine. So we went to the heart of where they make the wine, Armenia. Okay, so we made video about that. I hope you've seen it. If you're not, we're gonna put it in show note here. Okay, so that was that. And then we had interview with grassroots think tank Armenians, how they're building everything, educating the new journalists and others. And we went to Armenian the air navigation, which is the traffic controller. To our surprise, we show you some of that stuff. You'll be surprised to hear it and how great they are. And so there is so many interviews we had. We're going to bring them all to you. But today, as mentioned, in Thailand, again, this wonderful guy named Artur Artinian. He's a successful, expensive jewelry business he has. But every Armenian, they are three-dimensional, right? Their business, their life every day, Armenia, Western Armenia. So they are three-dimension in every Armenian life. So he built this Armenian consulate within his company. And you could see the logo, consulate logo, and his company logo. He's a wonderful guy. We interview him. I hope you saw the interview. If you don't, just go to gagrulenet. You could see it. And he just meet with all ambassadors. He invite them. He promote tourism with Armenia. And you see on the shelves all Armenian wine and cognac and everything. So he's another wonderful guy we interviewed. But today is really, we're going to talk about this, another successful story, and has touch of love in it, and a business story, and this U.S. Marine, how he met this Armenian sweetheart, and why he made Armenia his home. And so you really have to see it, you like it. And we just sat around the table, we talked, and he would explain everything you need to know about Armenia, how to do business or not to do, corruption, oligarchy, you name it, we discussed. So I would say, please sit back, relax, enjoy 30 minutes of Dave explaining everything. And you're going to enjoy it. Have fun. Sure. thank you, Dave, for letting us come here and talk to you. And I thought your story was a really good success story, an American and Armenian, how you met, and all that stuff. And just tell us about yourself a little bit. Where were you born, and how do you guys met? And
Okay.
how did you get here, and all that good stories.
So the fairy tale.
Fairy tale.
Yeah, okay.
First fairy tale.
So I'm originally from St. Louis, Missouri. I met my wife kind of serendipitously. I was a Marine working at the American Embassy in Malta, and she just happened to be doing her bachelor's degree there. We met, I guess fell in love, per se. At least I fell in love. I don't know about her. So she was visiting our house, the Marine house in Malta, and I had just gotten off of duty. I was taking a nap. I woke up and I walk out, and there are these 3 Russian girls and my wife sitting on our couch. The 3 Russian girls were dating the other guys that I was living with, and I saw Irina, and I guess it's love at first sight. At least for me it was. And we started dating from that. I kind of had a conversation, started dating from that point on, and I guess the rest is history, per se. We had some long distance relationships here or there, traveling back and forth to Armenia, to the US. I got out of the military, ended up finishing college, and then she moved with me to Berlin. I ended up getting a job building the embassy in Berlin. We lived there for a couple of years, moved back to the States, got married, had our first...
You married in the States?
Yeah, we married in the States.
Okay.
And we got married, had a kid a year and a half later, and that's when it all started, this whole process of...
So how did you make the decision to just come here?
So the Armenian decision, I think, was always kind of in the back of our mind. My wife is a political scientist, so she was doing a lot of research and analysis on Armenia as it was with her master's degree, and then she got accepted into Cambridge to do her PhD.
Anita was very impressed with her, by the way.
I'm impressed with her.
And me too, like I said, she seems to me like knows everything.
No, she's
a smart woman.
She's very intelligent, and she works.
You got the cream of the crop.
Yeah, no, I call it. I definitely scored up, in the category. So she's really a hard worker, and she loves Armenia. So she was doing her entire PhD on Armenia and the transition from the Soviet Union to now, and how the elites or the so-called elites of this current Armenia have structured themselves and the country. And to do that research, a lot of the work had to be done in Armenia. So she spent a little bit of time in the UK doing her first bits of research and setup for the thesis, and then during that period of time, we had about a year period where I was in business, in the financial services business. It wasn't doing so well. If anybody knows financial services during 2009 to 2010, it wasn't the greatest business to be in. So it worked out perfectly, and we decided, hey, we have to do the PhD anyway. Business isn't going well. Let's get out while we can, and let's give Armenia a shot. And I think in the back of our mind, it probably was a short-term solution. But I guess 5 years later, now you look at it and you go, wow, what happened? What did we do? Because it's so much has happened in 5 years. We moved here in 2011, July 2011. She hit the ground running, working on her PhD. I started working for a large restaurant firm here. I brought Cinnabon to Armenia. It's not my claim to fame, helping make Armenians fat, but I brought a major brand here, helped develop a bunch of customer service training, and really kind of, I feel, in a small way, revolutionized customer service in Armenia. And ended up speaking at TEDx, ended up getting a job teaching undergraduate and master's students in marketing and agribusiness for a Texas A&M program. All these things I could never do in the U.S., right? This simple Midwest guy speaking at TEDx, teaching at a university. So it's, if you look at the grand scope of Armenia and some of the positive outlines, you really got to look at there is so much that you can do here, and I don't think it's gone away yet. I mean, obviously, I believe that we came at the perfect time because 2011 was very transitionary. We had the Syrian conflict hitting, so you had a lot of Syrian Armenians starting to come into Armenia. You had this boom of westernized cafes and restaurants and businesses in general, and we were right there at the peak of it. And
Because I came in 2007 here. It was
nothing.
all I saw in the street was ladders.
Yeah, it
So
really
much
hit.
changed.
It really hit in a fast period of time. So 2011, between 2011 and now, we've seen this just explosion of influence. And I say Western. What I mean when I say Western, I say modern business practices, modern establishments. Obviously, the tech sector has really exploded. So we came at a perfect time and hit a perfect time. But I don't think it's over. There's still a lot of potential.
I think is this. If I was young, I would just start tomorrow business because this is where because old countries like they're dying sort of, but this is where lots of opportunities so you sort of looked at this as a challenge, and just do something like.
Well, it was a challenge. One thing, obviously, that we saw. One of the things we saw and really paid attention to were niches in the market, things that were missing. I had an advantage. I worked in the restaurant industry for over a year. I knew how the structure worked.
How
I knew
did
how
you manage the language?
That's a good question. I mean, I had a good support system around me, like good management teams around me. I don't think Armenian or Russian is a necessity if you have good people. A lot of people here speak English, which is surprising.
Yeah, I was in Japan. You would think, in Tokyo, Japan has old businesses around the world. You barely could find anybody speak English.
Yeah.
But here, and this girl I was talking to you, she speaks 5 languages. She's 21-year-old.
No, unfortunately, and fortunately, language isn't a problem, which has hurt me and helped me at the same time. It makes it harder for me to become motivated to learn the language, because I can use English almost all day long. It's also, I've learned enough Armenian to get around. But as far as in business is concerned, I don't think it's an end all be all. You don't necessarily need it. You can come here because there's some great. I've been lucky. I'm lucky in the fact that obviously my wife is Armenian and speaks perfect English, so I've always had that support system. But I've also been lucky because I'm an instructor at a university. I get to see some of the best students, and I can pick some of those and use them in my business. And we've just been lucky. And of course, with the Syrian Armenians coming, most of them spoke really good English, and they just had to. That was part of their service culture. So, when we started this business, all the timing was perfect, all the things, but we also had an advantage, and this is like the caution. I would never, looking back, I would never say, let's jump into Armenia, start a business without knowing what's going on, because you have to know what's going on. I had a year to work inside of Armenia as a CEO, not as a business owner, and I got a good understanding of how the tax structure worked, how the government institutions worked. I saw the corruption firsthand because it exists. There's no hiding it. There's corruption. And understanding that it's there and understanding how it works is very important to starting a business here. Because when we started this business, we sat down as a team. We started a business with myself, my wife, her sister, and her husband. Her husband is a Swiss guy, no Armenian as well. So it was two Odars, or whatever you would call it. Odars, coming into Armenia with local Armenian wives, running a business. And we sat down in our first day of business, our first day of planning this, we said we're going to run a clean business. We're not going to fall into the trap. We are going to, if it's more expensive, so be it. We will run it clean, and we will make sure that if we do see any corruption, that we're constantly vocal about it, that we're constantly fighting against it, that we know our rights. And it comes with a price, obviously, but it's worth it. right? Because you never are branded that business. You're never susceptible to bribes and corruption because the government ends up knowing that you're the business that's uncorruptible and is loud and it becomes
they try to
annoyance,
stay away
right?
from So how was the first one? You started the first one. Is this one?
So we're sitting in the first location, Samirian. This is my baby. This is where
you have what,
it all
3?
started. We have 3 locations: one in Cascade, one at AUA, and then the original location. And this is my favorite location.
So what make you to just open this street? Did you do some research or things? Or?
No, that's another thing. It's luck, a little bit of luck. We decided on this business in January 2012. So maybe 6 months after I'd come into the country. I was still running the other location, or the other restaurant businesses. We decided to start this type of venture. And then the process of looking began. And I think by April or May, we had found this and got lucky that we had a great landlord. The guy was really nice. The pricing compared to a lot of the other locations was really good.
You mean pricing rent?
Rent. And I mean, the location's great. It's downtown. It's,
So place like this, what do you rent? I don't know if you don't want to answer.
No, I'm always open about the things that we pay. For this property, we're paying $3,500 a month, which
Dollar you're talking about?
dollars, yeah,
3,500.
yeah. Which in the grand scope of things for Armenia is still expensive, but comparatively speaking, it's not. Unfortunately, one of the problems with land and kind of this, I don't want to confuse it too much, but maybe this oligarchic ownership of lots of land is that there's not a real good structure of rent pricing and real estate pricing. And I hope that changes. With time, we'll have a structure where all the prices are more fair, because you can walk next door, the buildings for rent right now, if you walk next door, and they want $8,000 a month rent for it. It's a big property, but what are you going to pay $8,000 a month
There's no
for?
such a standard.
There's no
square foot or
standardization.
thing.
No. We just got lucky. We got lucky with this being, because the guy across the street for
So
the
you
same
must, when you opened
price
this, you
makes
must,
double.
you were doing good, you decided to open another one, or
Okay, so
opportunity came?
this opportunity came. We were running this one for a couple of years. It was doing well. The buzz was there. We're really hands-on, and somebody walked in our door and said, "I want to open up a green bean." So we worked with him. It was a partnership/franchise, and we opened the second location in Cascade. And then, I guess into our 4th year, AUA space opened up, and we just they came to us, said, "Why don't you bid on it?" We did, and we got that space, which is
By
my
the way,
favorite.
the guy who is the electrician in the hotel, his wife work in there.
What's it?
Berge.
Berge. Yeah. His wife works at the.
Because I was talking
AUA.
yesterday, I said, I'm
That's
going to
great.
go, and he says, my wife worked there.
Syrian Armenians.
Yeah.
No, Berge is great.
Yeah.
No, he does. I mean, did a lot of our
He's a nice guy, you
It's
know?
great. It's great.
So you started this, and then all those 3 just opportunity came, and
Yeah.
and you took it.
Yeah, and I think, when we talk about business in general throughout the world, but you talk about business in Armenia is, running 3 cafes, it's not going to make you a lot of money. We stay busy to support our family in other ways with teaching and things like that. But the best part about what we do is the fact that we have 40, I think, employees amongst the 3 locations. 40.
Oh,
So we have 40 employees. Most of them have been with us since the beginning, so we have low turnover. We've set a standard. We were the first non-smoking cafe in the entire country. Outside of, there was a place called Yum Yum Donuts. They just reopened, but it's not really a cafe, it's a donut shop. So we're the first non-smoking cafe in the whole country. Now you can find, I think, a handful, 8 or 10.
everywhere.
Yeah, there's 8 to 10 of them.
Stuff.
Yeah.
So how is the taxation structured here? Can you give us some idea?
Well, I mean, I think in globally speaking, the taxation structure is probably normal. It's certainly not designed to attract business, but it doesn't kill the business either. The way restaurants work is you're not profit taxed. It's a flat square meter service area taxation. So I pay for wherever you can sit. Basically, I pay taxes on that. I don't pay for I don't get taxed on it.
Is anywhere else they use that thing?
I don't know.
The idea they had come up with.
Well, they used it because the resources to combat the corruption was a little overplayed with the head because if you do profit tax, then people just don't report income. So this way, they at least know what your income is, right? Because you're reporting it normally, and they know they get a flat tax, so they know they're getting a standard amount of income.
Do they have anything like sales tax when they sell something?
So the other taxation is when you hit the retail side, like for instance, the taxation that occurs on this. That's a VAT tax, value-added tax.
How much is that?
I think it's 20%.
Oh.
It's steep. Taxation, I think where taxation is starting to become a problem is probably on the income taxation side. Because you're hitting upwards of 28% income tax.
Which you said there's no income tax.
No income tax on employees' salaries.
Oh.
Income tax, personal income tax. Personal income taxation is where the big argument's lying. Right now, the big argument is that IT sector is not taxed on personal income tax.
Oh.
That's a benefit to doing, I don't know the exact details, but it's a low taxation on the income. It's designed to boost the IT sector.
So even if the IT is a service or is for manufacturing?
Both for IT, service and manufacturing. And then starting in 2018, they're repealing that and raising the taxation, which is going to hurt a lot. So this is one of the things I talked about, where we need to fight this and go for different types of taxation and different structures.
So there's no such a thing as yearly tax return or something?
No. It's actually, the cool part is that it's pretty simplified to the point where you don't have an end of year gigantic tax. You're doing it monthly. You're submitting everything to the tax authority monthly. It's a lot of paperwork still. That's why you can't run a business here without an accounting service. No matter how small you are, you'd want to have an accounting service.
Do they have any incentive for manufacturing if somebody's making something?
The biggest incentive that probably a lot of people don't know about is there's a VAT refund on goods that are produced and meant for export. So if you are, let's say you do coffee, you roast coffee. When you bring the coffee into the country, you're going to pay VAT on it. You're going to pay the 20% VAT. It comes out to 32% taxation because you pay 10% customs duty, 2% handling fee, and a 20% VAT. So you pay 32% taxation on the product. But they have a scheme where if you export the product, you can get a 20% rebate on the VAT that you paid, and that's designed to boost bringing in product and exporting it.
So you could bring it in, assemble it here or something, and
it's not a perfect system, but it's designed to promote exportation of Armenian-made products.
So do you still do like some other work beside your coffee shops, or basically this is keep you busy?
The cafe doesn't necessarily keep me as busy as it used to be. I have a local director now. We partnered with a local company who runs all of our cafes. They do all the paperwork and the daily operations. Where we manage the most hands-on is marketing, promotion, kind of keeping the essence alive, the ethos. I probably do more work teaching now.
Oh.
Spend more of my effort teaching. It was started off as a hobby, but now I really like it. So that's what I do for the most part.
What would you say if somebody's listening to you to come start business? Would you encourage someone to come and do it?
Yes, I would. Here's the thing. I would encourage everybody to come if you want to. If Armenia is a passion, I would encourage people to come and do business. But I would encourage it with some stipulations. I would encourage that they first of all contact or get familiar with an organization called Repat Armenia, because they have a lot of resources on business and how to start business. I would come in fully informed on costs and things of that nature. I would contact people like myself to understand who to contact for accounting services, legal services. Understand the tax structure, understand what you're getting into, do a lot of research. I wouldn't buy a one-way ticket and just land here and then just invest. I would do a lot of homework because Armenia is not an easy place to do business. It has a lot of opportunity, a lot of niches, a lot of open market opportunities, but it needs a lot of resources and it needs a lot of investigation before you do the work.
You said, was you or somebody else said you do some wine things, or that was you?
So my wife is, I wouldn't give myself any credit for this whatsoever, other than drinking it. But my wife is she's a certified wine expert. She teaches some wine courses. She started Yerevan Wine Academy, and she does some wine projects. She has her own label. It's called Zabel. And it's more of a hobby kind of thing, but it's going really well. And that's another upcoming sector that's really booming right now is the wine industry.
Like, yeah, we're going to that
huge history.
Armenia and see what is there. Talk to some people.
And I just kind of cap off this whole doing business in Armenia. If you're going to come here, I would also say get involved. Because one of the parts that I think hurts Armenia's image the most is when people come here, they start a business uninformed, they try to do business, then the business fails, and then they go and badmouth doing business in Armenia, and it's a negative narrative that doesn't need to exist. Because if you do business the way I do business, it can work. I do business this way. I do business clean. And then if there is things that need to be fixed, like I see the government doing something wrong, I'm proactive, right? At the moment. I complain about it at the moment. I do the necessary, I get involved with AmCham, American Chamber of Commerce. I lobby for clean business practices. If I'm wronged, I complain about it. I get invited by the Justice Ministry to do speeches on anti-corruption. Here.
Wow.
By the Ministry of Justice here in Armenia, to talk about anti-corruption. And when these things happen, it comes in the media, and we complain, and we proactively work together to make solutions. And I think this is the biggest problem. People think, well, if I come to Armenia, set up a business, and then bad things happen to me, I'm just going to pack up my bags, go back home, complain about it, and life's over, and Armenia is a bad place to do business. And I say, that's your fault because you didn't complain. You didn't fight. Okay. Right. Now, of course, there's always going to be some zealot, nationalist that says, why are you complaining? Why are you spreading this negative narrative? And I'm not. I'm fighting for good business in Armenia. That's what I'm doing. Of course, the media always makes things more sensational than it should be. But at the end of the day, if we want a good Armenia, we want a clean Armenia, we want the Armenia we all want to live in. And it's not Armenia, it's any place. You choose to live in a home, you make a
community. Everywhere you go, you have to.
Yeah, I argue this way. Like, people ask me, well, what do you love about Armenia? Why do you love living here in Armenia? There's a lot of reasons. But at the end of the day, I've made a choice to make this my home. And it doesn't matter if this is Armenia or Timbuktu or Botswana, it doesn't matter. I've made this my home. So if I've chosen to make this my home, I will fight to make sure that my home is clean,
so
that it's got opportunities.
When I came 2007 here, and because I was in information technology, but also before that I was in this diesel fuel injection business, made parts. When I was talking about this, the whole thing was everybody said, like this is in Armenia, where if you do things, you succeed, they'll come and take it from your hand. Is there anything?
These horror stories that I've heard of, like the Mr. 50% and all that stuff. I've never actually seen it or heard it, like on a definitely not on the small and medium-sized enterprise level. Maybe it happens in big enterprises, but I can assure you that for probably 99.9.
So nobody came here and told you?
Never. We're going to take your business, or we want a certain percentage of it. It's never happened.
So it's just,
I'm not saying it doesn't happen.
No.
But I've never actually seen it or heard it, and I think it's.
And you
I
have
think,
3 places. So.
I think it's a ridiculous narrative to spread. It's not a constructive narrative. It's not a narrative where you say, this is how we fix things. It's just a complaining, wah kind of narrative.
So interesting. You said you go there to Justice Ministry and you talk. So there is communication with the government. So they're not totally isolated.
This is not okay. The government is systematically at fault for a lot of things in Armenia. But at the end of the day, there are opportunities to work with the government, and if you take them, and it's easy for me to say all this because I'm an American in Armenia, and
But if you could do it in here.
No, but I become a poster child. You know, it's easy for the government to say, "Look, we're using this American to clean," and I take that role very responsible. I take that responsibility not lightly. I don't take it lightly because I know that I'm not a local Armenian, and I may have an opportunity to yell and voice my concerns better or easier than some of the local Armenians. So this is why it's very important for me to go out, and when I get invited by the government, to take the opportunity to say, hey guys, this is what's going wrong. This is where.
But as long as they listen, you know, whether they do it or not is a different story, but at least if they listen. I mean, you tried to go U.S. to Justice Department.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, that would never happen.
No, and even if they don't, at the end of the day, at least the concern has been voiced, and we can do it again, and we can do it again, and we can do it again, and I'll never close my doors without some fight.
Do you have any business association things here, or like?
So we have several business. Every country or every diplomatic mission, I believe, or every major diplomatic mission, is in part. Is part of some type of chamber of commerce, business chamber of commerce. We have American Chamber of Commerce, we have the French Chamber of Commerce, we have the European Union Chamber of Commerce. It's all the European Union countries. So there's plenty of things going on. It's a lot of, and there's another thing. If you're a part of business in Armenia, I would say get involved in those somehow, some way, so that you're always a voice. You know, because. And another thing I would say is that if you're coming here, don't think that you have to play by some local rules, which I don't understand what that even means, but a lot of people have said that what happens to a lot of local or startup businesses, they come here, I think it's happened to a lot of Syrian Armenians, they come here and they believe that bribes is normal. And I'm telling you, it's not. It's only normal once you start doing it, right? And then you'll never get out of it.
This is what I ask about. There is business. So those people, like you know, they got, and somebody could guide them or motivate them, saying, "Don't do this."
Sure.
You know, just stick to your line. You know.
Well, I think there's a lot of businesses that a lot of organizations speaking out and saying that you shouldn't do that, but it's very easy for us to say that. But you never know what it's like to be the tiny little shop owner and have a tax authority come to you and do something. We don't know what it's like. I mean, that's why I need to take the responsibility and be vocal and loud and promote fair business and good business dealings with the government. And if enough businesses like myself do that, which are other businesses doing it, if enough of us do that, then we slowly get to a point where we get rid of that taking advantage of small businesses, that low-level corruption, and it kind of goes away. But I have sympathy for the small businesses that take part in that, because if someone comes to your door and says, I'm going to fine you 50,000 drams for doing X, and 50,000 drams is your profit, right? And then they say, well, listen, if you pay me 25,000, we'll call it even.
Does that really happen?
That does happen. That does happen. This is low-level corruption that they've been trying to clean up for a long time.
Well, when I came in 2007, even the taxi driver, like we rented to take us around, they would stop him, and the taxi driver would get off the car, go back there. They wouldn't even come to him, back, give them something. But now lately, I don't see that happen. I mean, literally every couple of miles, they would stop it. But I don't know if that's still continuing.
They've cleaned up the police a lot, but it still happens. I think they're more organized to the point where they want to give out tickets, for legally give out tickets. You still see it. I have some local Armenian friends. You'll be in the car with them, and they'll get pulled over. And the local Armenian friend, now I don't know who to blame, whether it's the police or the local Armenian friend.
Is the way they drive.
The local Armenian friend will put a 5,000 dram note in with his, and give it to the cop. And there's been several situations where I've seen that, and the police officer will get angry and say, "Why were you doing that in front of an American, a foreigner? This could cause trouble." We are still a long ways away, I believe, from this getting rid of the small, petty corruption. It's going to haunt, and it's going to haunt Eastern European countries for a long time. But what's important is that we do it step by step, and we do it systematically, fighting it. And I think we as individuals and business owners have a huge part to play in fighting that corruption. And a part of that is to not pay these bribes. Part of this is to openly fight it when it's wrong. And that's what I've done.
So it's financing okay? The banks, are they willing to lend more money here? Or?
I don't know much about it because we haven't taken much for loans. I think at the end of we've taken some overdrafts for coffee orders and things of that nature, but we're a cash business for the most part. Well, what I've seen, I think it's doable. I think the only problem is to get credit here, which it makes sense, is that you have to have, it's collateralized, everything's collateralized. You have to have some collateral to
How about safety?
Okay, so now you want to talk about the best parts of Armenia. If I were to put the business aside, business is secondary. This is part of life. This is part of making income. But the best part of Armenia, if you were to ask myself and my wife, what keeps you in Armenia? It's certainly not the green bean. We love the green bean, but the best part of Armenia is the quality of life. And when I say the quality of life, it's a bundle. It's safety being one. Walk at all hours, and there's little to no crime. If anything, maybe petty theft, breaking into an apartment or busting out a window and stealing stuff, but nothing violent. There's little to no violent crime, which is incredible, right? And I would say that to add to that is the family life. Raising children here, schools, education, nannies, the care for children is second to none.
Wow.
There's no place in the world where I can feel comfortable walking in public with my children. They disappear, right? And my heart doesn't, when I'm here, my heart doesn't sink. I don't get this fear that, oh my God, where's my child? They must have been taken.
So your children could go outside to play?
Because everybody loves kids here. There's this overarching protection about children. And my 7-year-old can play in the courtyard of our building. We have no problem. We don't worry about him. Whereas I don't think you have that anymore in the West, and it's unfortunate. But and the schools here are great. We take my son to school, and the systems are great, and the teachers love the kids individually, and there's this protection. And it's interesting. Everybody's late in Armenia to everything, but we can be late to pick up our kids half an hour, 45 minutes, and we don't have to worry. Because they're taking care of them. And there's just there's this sense of calm, and there's no worries about what's happening with your kids here. And the family support structure and system here is so deep that I think if I were going to talk about Armenia in land of possibility, of opportunity, or places to live, I would actually put family life and kids, if you have kids, at the top of the list, right? And then I would put business opportunities second. Unfortunately, the furthest one away is career potential, because getting a job here and growing up the ladder is one of the toughest things about Armenia, which is, I hope, one of the things we're changing and fighting for with getting businesses growing and more about. No, I mean, who cares about that? As long as you have good family, that's.
Thank you very much.